Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining me for today's video. Today we are going to be doing the Scavenger Hunt Bookshelf Challenge where we go through a string of prompts and whatever book we end up with is the book that we have to read at the end of this video. I always love doing these videos because you never know what book you're going to end up with. And it's always exciting to see what that book is and what I'll be, reading for the next couple of days. It's a good way to get books that you've kind of been avoiding read because sometimes you have no choice but to choose a book that you've kind of been putting off for whatever reason that may be. So the first time I came across this game was when I was watching one of Ellen Catherine's videos, and she found it from Riley Marie's videos. So I will post the YouTube channels in the description below to those two YouTube channels. And the prompts that I use for this game are inspired by both those YouTubers. So the first thing we have to do is decide what book we are going to start out the scavenger hunt with. And when I am doing this with my physical books, I usually just pick the book that I just finished reading. And I finished this 2 days ago. It's an interesting choice to start this game out with, I will say. And it is The Gray King by Suzanne Cooper, which is book 4 in her middle grade, The Dark is Rising sequence. So this is the book we'll be starting the challenge out with. We'll see how this goes. All right, and then next up we have to bring up our prompt wheel that has 10 prompts on it that we will spin through one by one until we get to the last one and see what our final book is. So I guess I'll scoot over so I can put the wheel up here. All right, the wheel should fit over here, I assume. Let's bring that up. All right, here is our scavenger hunt wheel. Like I said, there are 10 prompts on it. And we're going to go ahead and spin and see what our first prompt is. Here we go. Could be anything. We won't know until the wheel stops. So it's find a book that has similar tropes to the book you just chose. All right, well, that's fun. So this book, like I said, is the 4th book in the Dark is Rising sequence. It's basically the main trope in it is your good versus evil trope, the dark versus the light, which happens to be the fight that occurs through this entire series. We also have the trope with the 7th born son or the 9th born son. I can never remember that. Of the 9th born or 7th born son, and that they're, have special powers. We have that trope. Yeah, then we have a little bit of Welsh mythology in here as well. Now, do I have another book that has these things in it? I don't know. We're going to have to take a look. Basically, we're going to try to find dark versus light because I think that is the easiest way to go. All right, so I looked through the books I already read because the books I haven't read, I don't really, it's hard to know what the tropes are in those books. So, the book I'm going with, which maybe a little bit of a stretch, but it's the closest I could get, is The Temptation of Magic by Megan Scott. And this book has two things that kind of go along with it. We have the good people in the book. Wow, I know this is impressive. And we have the dark. So I guess I should tell you a little bit about what this book is first. So this book is set in the US, but in a world where there are supernatural beings and there are people that are imperials. I don't know if I'm saying that right, that are able to kind of fight the supernatural so they don't take over the world. So this book follows Nicole, who is an Imperial, but she has been hiding from the Wake, which is kind of the organization that controls the Imperials because she believes the Wake killed her mother. So the dark in this instance is the supernatural beings, and to Nicole, the Wake as well, because, she believes that they killed her mother, and the light is kind of her, and the other people hiding from the Wake. This also has a little bit of the Welsh mythology, the hunt in it as well, so we also have that. So I think this is a pretty good option to go with. So this will be the next book that we'll be using for our next prompt. So let's bring up that prompt wheel again and see where we're going next. All right, let's hide this prompt. And let's go ahead and spin the wheel. Here we go. Hopefully it's an easy one. All right. So this time we are going to reverse the page numbers in this book, and then we have to find a book with the reverse page numbers. For some reason, this prompt I always have trouble with not finding the book, but actually remembering what number it is. The very first video I did, I completely messed it up. Hopefully that won't happen this time around. Let's see how many pages is in this book. All right, we have 364 pages in this book, so we just need a book that is 463 pages long, which shouldn't be that difficult. That's like a standard page count for most books, so 463, remember that. We'll see if I do. No guarantees. And let's start looking through some books. All right, I got a pile down here I'm going to grab. I'll be right back. All right, we're going to start with these. All right, Bletchley Riddle. Looks like it could be around the 400 page mark. Let's find out. 389. No, that's not going to work. We got A River of Golden Bones. I think this one's only 300 though. Yeah, another 380-ish book. We got The Liar's Crown, which is small and thick. Okay, 434. So this is an option. Here's Infinity Alchemist. 385. Okay, not there. I don't think this is going to be 439. Let me go look at some of the books I've already read. I'll be right back. For now, we'll keep Liar's Crown. All right, I am back, and I found a book that is 464 pages long, so just one off from 463, so we're going to go with it. This is Jack the Bodiless by Julian May, which is book 1 in her Galactic Milu trilogy. I absolutely adore this trilogy. I have read this trilogy I don't know how many times, but it takes place in the future. It's kind of like a science fiction book, where certain families have these telepathic powers that enable them to do a lot of different things, and they kind of almost rule the universe because they have gone off and colonized other planets. And it's just, I don't know what it is about this book, but I definitely really enjoy reading it. So this will be our next book in our prompts. I don't know, our next book in this game. Anyway, let's go ahead, bring up the spin wheel and do our next spin. All right, we gotta hide this slice, and let's see what we get next. We took care of the 2 yellow slices. All right. Nope, this is a random number generator one. These always take a little bit of time. All right, so this is use a random number generator to choose a random page and then a random line on that page. We have to then find a book that uses a word in that line in the title of the book. All right, so first we gotta find a random page. This book is, like I said, 464 pages long. So let's get a random number. Hey Siri, choose a random number between 1 and 464.
It's 252.
252, right in the middle of the book. All right, we got words on that page. Hey Siri, choose a, oh, I gotta count the lines first. What am I doing? All right, so let me count the lines. 43 lines, all right. Hey Siri, choose a random number between 1 and 43.
It's 10.
10, good, I don't have to count too far. Like I said, this is a very science fiction book, so hopefully we can find a book that has a word in it, because most of my science fiction books are Kindle. All right, here we go. Being a murderer, I wasn't being straightforward with you. All right, that doesn't give us a ton of options. Well, we do have A, so we can always fall back on that. I don't like using A sometimes, though, unless I have to, because it feels like kind of a cheat. Murderer, I don't know if I have a book with that in it. Being straightforward, probably not. With and you. All right. Here we go. We're going to start taking a look. Looking on the ground first. We got The Liar's Crown, A River of Golden Bones, the Bletchley River. So we do have A, but like I said, it's kind of like using the. We gotta find a word with something. There's gotta be on here. This is not looking good. Okay. Here's one. The girl with no reflection. With is in the line. Let me look on the cart real quick. I'll be right back. We also have The Boy with the Bookstore. So which one do I want to go with? These are going to be our 2 options. A fantasy book or a romance book. Which is going to be better for me? This is a good question. I have no idea. We are going to go with The Girl with No Reflection. It is fantasy. Most of my books over there are fantasy. So this is what we're going to try. All right. I haven't read this one yet, actually. I just know it's about a woman who's chosen to marry her husband, who ends up being cold and confines her to a room which just has a mirror in it. So this is the one we're going with. All right, let's move on to our next prompt. All right, so here is our wheel again. Let's hide that slice and spin the wheel. Let's see what prompt we have to build on with this book. Here we go. All right, so find a book with the most common consonant or vowel in the previous title, which is this one. All right, we have The Girl with No Reflection. So let's see. N is in here twice. R we have twice. We have E. We have 3 E's because we have the and reflection. L, T, T, ooh, 3 T's as well. 3 I's, 2 H's. All right, so we have 3 E's, 3 I's, and 3, what's the other letter? I know there was a third one. E's, I's, and T's. Okay, so we just have to find a book that starts with E, I, or T. We're going to exclude the. Okay, E, I, or T. Remember that. E, I, or T. These are not exactly the easiest letters. All right, let's see. Over here, we have Immortal. Here we go. All right, Immortal. First one I saw. This is the one we're going with. This is by Su Lin Tan. And again, haven't read this book, not really sure what it's about. On the back it says, "What the gods did not give us, I would take." It's a very pretty cover though. I do really love this cover. All right, we're going with Immortal. It starts with an I. Good to go. Let's bring up the prompt wheel. Keep moving on. All right, hide that slice. We're almost halfway through. Almost. After this prompt, we'll be halfway through. Let's see what we have to do with Immortal. All right, this is another random number generator. We're going to choose a random page, a random line, a random word on that line, and then count the letters in that word and find a book that has a title with that number of words. All right, everyone got that? Good. What did I do with my phone? Found it. All right, first off, let's see how many pages Immortal has in this version. Funnily enough, it's very similar to the number of pages in the last book we did this with. This one is 465 pages. All right, here we go. Hey Siri, choose a random number between 1 and 465.
The answer is 324.
All right, 324, of course, giving me a page near the end of a book I haven't read. That's fine. I'm good at ignoring words. Oh, it's the beginning of a chapter, so there's not going to be a lot of lines on here. Just let me count real quick. 21. Hey Siri, choose a random number between 1 and 21.
That would be 18.
18. All right. 1, 20, 19, 18. 11. Hey Siri, choose a random number between 1 and 11. There's some very long words.
7.
7. But our word is as. A-S. Literally 2 letters, which means we need a title of 2 words. Let me grab some options and I'll be right back. I'm going to get the books that I've read. All right, I brought back 3 options. We have Truly Devious, YA mystery. We have The Naturals, another YA mystery. And we have The Awakening, fantasy. Which one do I choose, though? Because I know some of the prompts that are left include looking at the elements on the cover, using opposite colors. So it makes it kind of hard to choose. I think we'll go with The Naturals, though. We're going to hope that this is the right decision. I don't really have a reason why I'm going with this one, other than we have a nice black cover with just blue on it. This book is the first in a 4-book series that follows Cassie, who is kind of a prodigy with being able to read people, and she's recruited into this group of other kids by the FBI to solve unsolved cases, basically. That's how the series starts. A lot of things happen throughout all the other books, but I definitely really enjoyed this series. So let's go ahead. This is by Jennifer Lynn Barnes, by the way. Let's go ahead and spin our wheel and hope we get a good prompt to go with this book. All right. We are down. Oh, we got to remove this one. We are down to 5 prompts, so we are over halfway, or not over. We are exactly halfway done. Getting closer to seeing what book we're going to get. All right, what do we have to do with this book? So we have to find a book that has similar elements on the cover. We have puzzle pieces. We have a bow. That is about all we have. Do I have another book that has puzzle pieces and a bow on the cover? Maybe the bow. I think we're going to have to go for the bow because it's also a box. The puzzle pieces are formed into a box. We have box, bow, and cube. I don't know. This may have been the wrong choice. We'll see. I'm gonna have to stand up for this one. No bows. This is not going. I was about to give up. I found a book that has some of the elements on it. We're going to go with it. So remember, we got a bow, puzzle pieces, and a box. Book we're going with is Maggie Moves On by Lucy Score. This was a fun book about a YouTube star that does house flips, Maggie Nichols, and she goes to flip a house of this guy, Silas Wright. Not the guy. She goes to flip a house, which is a crumbling Victorian mansion, and one of the persons she hires is Silas Wright, who's a landscaper, and things go off from there. But on this cover, she has a bow in her hair, and she is carrying a box. So we have a box, we have a bow. Those are the similar elements. Yes, the covers look absolutely nothing alike. They're both blue as well. But we got the box and the bow, so that's as close as I'm going to get. So let's go ahead, pull up the prompt wheel, and hopefully this prompt's a lot easier than the last. All right, let's hide that slice. Don't have to use that one again. 4 prompts to go. Here we go. All right, what are we doing? Find a book with a similar color scheme on the cover. All right, so we have blues, reds, and greens. That's a pretty common color scheme, I feel. This has got to be easier. It just has to be. All right. Oh, this one is green. That was closer. Oh, here we go. What's this color? We just really have blue. They're kind of similar blues, but not any of the other colors. It's too bright a blue. All right, let's look over here. 8 Nights with a Flirting, but similar blues, but the letter, this has red letters, this has yellow, so not quite. All right, looks like I'm gonna have to do another trek out to the other room and look through some books there, so I'll be right back. So I looked everywhere for a book with a similar color scheme. It's always hard when there's multiple like things going on the cover. But again, this is the cover. We have browns, reds, some greens, and the cover we're going with is How to Stop a Time War by Matt Haig. And you can see it's similar. This blue, yeah, is a little bit darker, but it has like the reds, the yellows, or the reds and the greens. This is the closest I could go with. This is the closest I could get. So we're gonna go with it. I think it's similar. I think it's similar enough. So this is a science fiction book about a man who has been living for centuries and he has to keep changing his identity, and the only thing he can't do is fall in love. So I read this a long time ago. It's been a long time, so I don't really remember everything about it, but I do remember enjoying it. So yeah, this is our next book, How to Stop a Time. I just made that up. That's a whole different book. How to Stop Time. So let's go ahead, bring up the wheel, and see what we have to do next. Hopefully things start getting a little bit easier. All right, here we go. All right, let's hide that one. We're coming down on our last 3 slices, so here we go. All right, let's see. All right, this isn't too bad. So we have to choose a book that has complementary colors of the cover of the book you just chose. So that's pretty easy. Blue, so we just need a red cover, mainly red cover with some blue, green elements. So red cover, blue elements. Mostly blue elements with some orange and green. Let's find a red cover. Let's start there. All right, here's one. Scarlet Odyssey. This is red orange, but doesn't have any other colors on it, so no. Just starting off well again, I can see that. Phoenix Keeper. We got red and a little bit of green. It's not mostly a red cover, but we'll see. We'll see what else we can find first. Why is there no red covers? I don't know what it is about this round, but this is not getting easy every time I get a new prompt. So remember, we started off with How to Stop Time by Matt Haig, and we had to choose a book with a complementary color. So this is kind of like a little off blue. So we're going with, I know it looks a little orangish on here, but it is a reddish. It's like a rust color. And it has some blue on it, which is a complementary of red. And there's some yellow and gold on this one. This is as close as I could get. So this is what we're doing. So this is The Lost Tomb by David Gibbons, which is a series. I think it may be the third book in a series, yeah, which follows a archaeologist, and it's kind of like one of those mystery archaeology type books. I read this series a long time ago, really enjoyed it, and this is the one we're going with. All right, let's go ahead, spin this wheel again. All right, we're down to the last two. Let's hide that slice. Here we go. This has got to be easier. All right. All right, find a book with the same number of letters in the title. We can do that. So The Lost Tomb has 8, 9, 10, 11 letters. So we just have to find a book that has 11 letters in the title. How hard can this be? This cannot be that hard. All right, let's just start randomly looking. All right, we got June Reimagined. I have a feeling this is longer because Reimagined. Yes, okay, that's not going to work. We got Mistborn, which is only 8. Breaking the Rules, Wrath in the Dawn, all too long. We have Starfarers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Only one off. Silver on the Trees, too long. Ghost in the Snow is too long. What do we have over here? The Liar's Crown. Yeah, that's going to be over 10. Cruel Prince, The Dark Archive. The Awakening, all too long. Okay, we just need a book that has a short title. Like, what is going on here? One Dark Windows, too long. Blood Orange, too long. Water Moon. That's only 9. Getting a little closer. City of Ruin. There we go. City of Ruin by Teresa Weeks, which is book 2 and one of this series. I don't know what the series is called. I have not read this series yet. I do have book 1. But City of Ruin? Wait, that's only 10 letters. Or I already forgot what we were going for. Was it 11? Oh, it was 11. Okay, never mind. I got so excited. Okay, continuing on. All right, the book swap. Here we go. This is 11. All right, this one definitely has 11 letters. It is The Book Swap by Tessa Bickers. It's a romance book about two people who are rivals turned lovers. So this is the book we're going with. I haven't read it yet. But The Book Swap, that's 4, 8, 9, 10, 11. Definitely 11 letters. So let's figure out what the last prompt that we are doing. I know you can't hide the second to last prompt, so we're going to have to spin it till we get the prompt that we need. I'll cut all that out if it takes us 10 spins, but let's do this. All right. Hopefully we land on this pink one here, red one, because that is the one that we need. Here we go. And I don't remember what it is. I think it's the one where you have to do the, yeah, it's the, oh, look at that. That was perfect. All right. This is the same prompt we ended on, I think, last time we did this. But this is the author that shares the same name as someone in the acknowledgements. All right. This one's always fun. But this, whatever book we choose is going to be the one we read. So hopefully there's some good names in these acknowledgements. Hopefully there is an acknowledgement. Here we go. There is definitely, ooh, it's a long acknowledgement section. I always love that because that gives us lots of options. All right, here we go. Jemima. I don't think I have a book that starts with that name. Aaron? I don't think I have an Aaron either. What else do we got? Amy, David, Sarah, Lucy, James. Remember these? Emily, Sophie, Raj, Katie, Tessa. Could read this book. Julie, Debbie, Leah, Lindsay, Freya, Christina. I'm just like reading out names now. Okay. There's got to be a book with one of these names. I'm just going to start at the beginning. Sophie. Was there a Sophie? Am I just making that up at this point? There is a Sophie. Sophie Berkeley. Okay, we got an option. Cruel is the Light. It's our first option. All right, continuing on. I'm sure this is very entertaining. Got Amy. All right. So we have our two options. We have Cruel is the Light by Sophie Clark and a fantasy book. And we have Breaking All the Rules by Amy Andrews, which is a romance book. All right, let's see what these are about. So I Cruel is the Light is a long book. It's like almost 500 pages, if not over 500. Just under 500 pages. So this is actually a good versus evil. It appears to be a trope book, and it's a romantasy that follows two elite soldiers, Celine, who's a powerful exorcist trained at the prestigious Vatican Academy, and Jules, who is a foot soldier. In this world, there is a battle between demons and humanity that has raged across Europe for over a century. When Jules and Celine's paths cross, they initially are distrustful of each other, and then they become attracted to each other, and then they discover a terrible secret at the heart of the Holy Vatican City. So soon Jules has to question everything he's ever known, and Celine must make an impossible choice between love and duty. So that is our first option. Our second option, if you guys have been on my channel for a while, will be familiar with this book because it's been on many a TBR. And it is Breaking All the Rules by Amy Andrews. And this book follows Beatrice, who has always kind of done what she wanted to until one day she said that was enough. She ends up moving to a small town in Colorado to live life on her own terms. And that means going to a restaurant in her pajamas, basically. And a cop is called on her for, inappropriate outdoor wear. And Beatrice realizes there's something missing from her little decathlon of decadence, and this cop might be the guy to help her out. And when it comes to breaking rules, Officer Austin Cooper is surprisingly eager to assist. He's charming, a little bit cowboy, and very handsome. But Beatrice is about to find out that breaking the rules, it has some consequences. So those are our two options. I don't know, these are very different books, but I think the book I'm going to go with is Breaking All the Rules by Amy Andrews because I need to get this book read. This book has been on I don't know how many TBRs. It's a rom-com type of book as well, and it's just calling out for me to have a fun time reading it. So we're going to go with this. We're going to try it out, and I'll let you know how this book is. I'll check in with you probably when I'm about halfway through, let you know how it's going. And then I'll let you know my final thoughts once I get to the end of the book. So our scavenger hunt has given us a TBR veteran in Breaking All the Rules by Amy Andrews. I'll see you guys at some point in the future when I'm halfway through this book. All right. See you guys soon. All right. I am back. It's been a minute since I last talked to you guys since we chose the book Breaking All the Rules by Amy Andrews. It's been almost a week and I have completed the book. I know I didn't check in halfway through. This week has been a little bit crazy, so I didn't get around to being able to record halfway through. So I figured we'll just check in at the end of the book and I'll let you know my thoughts, my final thoughts, on how the story went. So overall, this was a fun book to read. It's definitely a rom-com, and I really enjoyed the characters. I really enjoyed most of the plot. And I just had a lot of fun reading it. The book captured my attention in the very first sentence, or technically it was the second sentence, but let me read it. She didn't know what time it was, what day it was, or what season of Supernatural she was up to, but she knew she needed sugar. Supernatural, the TV show. I absolutely adore that TV show, and any book that mentions it is going to get my attention. All right, but enough about Supernatural for now. I have a couple of other things to mention about it, but just a recap of what this book is about, even though you probably just heard me speaking it, what it's about. But now that I read it, I understand a bit more about what the back cover is alluding to. So this book, like I said, is a rom-com. It follows the main character, Beatrice, who goes by B, and the main male character is Austin. So this book is told from the main viewpoint of B. Scattered throughout the book are some sections where you do get Austin's viewpoint, but for the majority of the book, you are reading this from B's viewpoint, which makes sense in this book because B's the one that's going through all these big transitions in her life, and it makes sense to see how her life kind of changes throughout the book. So B used to work at this large advertising company in LA, and she was great at what she did. She made amazing advertising campaigns. But when it came time for a promotion that she was due for, she got passed over for someone else instead. And that just made her very upset because she's basically dedicated her entire life to this job. She works almost nonstop, weekends, nights, and she's always available. And all that work did not do anything for her. She got passed over for the promotion that she was due. So when she finds out about that, she quits her job and she finds herself in Credence, Colorado, which is a small town in Colorado. And there she's decided that she did everything she was supposed to. She followed all the rules. And what did that get her? Nothing. So now it's time to break all the rules. And we get right at the beginning of the book a little meet cute between our main characters, Bee and Austin. So Bee decides to venture outside her apartment where she has just been binge watching Supernatural to go find some food. And she goes, I believe it was to the diner. I can't remember 100%, but she ends up getting some ice cream at the diner. She couldn't decide between the two flavors. So she is standing outside the diner with one ice cream flavor in one hand, the other ice cream flavor in the other hand, eating it. And a local citizen that lives in Credence decides to call the cops on her because of the way she's eating ice cream. And Austin takes the call and finds her, eating the ice cream outside. And she decides that now that there's a cop there, it's time to break all the rules, jaywalking, anything, to see what happens. And that is how the book starts. And from there, it just goes to Beatrice trying to find out who she truly is and the relationship between her and Austin and how that kind of grows. So, first off, the supernatural. Supernatural has cameos throughout this book, which I loved. There's a whole plot line involving, well, not a plot line, but pie gets mentioned a lot. And if you've watched Supernatural, you know where that comes from. And there's even a saying of WWDD, what would Dean do? So Supernatural makes several cameos throughout this book, which was fun. And I definitely enjoyed that. The main character, Bee, I also really enjoyed as well. You can tell that she is just burned out from her job and that she's really enjoying not having to do anything, but she is kind of missing her work as well. And it's fun to kind of see her try to figure out who she is and what she actually wants to do with her life. And that's kind of a running plot line throughout the book as well. She's also just a fun character, and I really enjoyed reading this book from her viewpoint. Austin is a cop in Credence. He's originally from Credence. He did some time in Denver as a cop before moving back to his hometown to be a small town cop. And he's also really enjoying his job as well. There's a little bit of an age gap. I think B is 35, Austin is 25, and that comes into play um because of Beatrice's childhood basically. I don't want to go too much into it so that I don't spoil the book. It's not like a huge spoiler, but basically that's another kind of conflict that Beatrice is having in her head, this her relationship with Austin, with him being 10 years younger than her. This book is a spicy book. There are definitely some spicy scenes in it, though not as spicy as some other books that I have read. Just for fair warning. I also would say the middle of the book kind of lost me a little bit in the plot line because there wasn't a lot happening outside Beatrice and Austin just meeting up and, wanting to have some steamy spicy scenes in the book. There wasn't a lot of plot line outside of that, like right in the middle of the book. The beginning and the end were great, but I don't know what it was in the middle. I felt like the plot got lost a little bit right in the middle. But other than that, I felt like the plot kind of moved forward as it should. The third act conflict, which is usually the bane of my existence because it always has something to do with miscommunication, was not the bane of my existence in this book. I actually enjoyed the third plot conflict in this book because it felt realistic and the author kind of built to that third act. Did I say third plot? I don't even know what I'm saying. The author kind of built to that third act conflict as she what am I trying to say? I don't even know. The author build up to that third act conflict throughout the book, so it felt kind of like a natural conflict that was to occur. It didn't feel like it was like pushed into that conflict. It felt very natural. And it wasn't really miscommunication, which is amazing because I just hate miscommunication third act conflicts where if they had just talked to each other, everything would have been figured out. So I was happy about that. I also enjoyed the secondary characters in this small town of Credence. It definitely gave you a small town feel. All the little stores, diners, hairdressers was a lot of fun to kind of learn about their characters as well. They didn't play a huge part in the book, but it was definitely nice to kind of like meet some of them, especially in a small town where everyone knows everyone. So I enjoyed that as well. So yeah, so overall I would give this a 4 out of 5. It was definitely a fun read. There was just a little bit in the middle where I felt like the plot line wasn't really moving forward. But other than that, I had a fun time reading it with the supernatural cameos, the small town of Credence, and Beatrice just trying to find herself and figure out who she is and what she wants to do with her life. It was definitely a fun book to read, and I'm glad I finally got to this because I think this has been on I don't know how many TBRs and I never read it. So I'm finally glad that I actually got around to sitting down and reading this. That is Breaking All the Rules by Amy Andrews. And that completes our bookshelf scavenger hunt. So let's talk about next week. So next week, I am going to do a backlist author reading vlog where I read books from authors that I've enjoyed and that I want to read their entire literary publication list. And how we are going to play that game next week is we have all those backlist authors in these little envelopes here. We are going to pick two, and they are going to kind of face each other in a game of blackjack. And whichever one wins, that is the author I will read a book from. So my goal is always to do 3 books with those games, so that will be my goal. Next week is also a little bit busy, not as busy as this week, so I'm hoping I can get at least 3 books read in that game. We shall see. But I am definitely excited to get some more books read from authors that I enjoy. All right, so that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed watching it and playing the bookshelf scavenger hunt game along with me. I definitely have so much fun playing that game because you just never know what book you're going to end up with. I would never have guessed we would be reading Breaking All the Rules by Amy Andrews, but that's what we ended up with. And like I said, I am super glad because I definitely really enjoyed this book. And it definitely makes me want to check out some other books by her. So at some point, she'll probably show up in my backlist author reading games. If you've enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. If you want to see future videos by me, including next week's Blackjack booklist author backlog game, and then the following week will be the Tales of Twilight Halloween inspired game, please hit that subscribe button. If you want to let me know that you were here watching, what emoji should we do? That is a excellent question, isn't it? We gotta look up some emojis because I am struggling. Oh, I know. Let's do a star emoji. And the reason why is that she, B, is from LA. And in LA, because of all the lights, it's hard to see the stars. And when she moves to Credence, being able to see the stars in the sky is kind of like a big deal for her. So let's use a star emoji if you want to let me know that you've watched this video. So comment that below. And I think that's it. So I will see you in my video next week. Take care. Bye.